Let me give you an overview of what all we shall cover in this course. This course is primarily divided into 4 sections. The first one is the balance sheet. Then we will see the profit and loss statement. Thereafter, the cash flow statement, and then some ratio analysis. Now, each section has several lessons, and I shall cover them right from the basics so that any person without any prior knowledge of finance or commerce will be able to understand it. Gradually, we will go into absolute details, but if you are from a commerce or finance background, then you may like to skip certain lessons which you may be familiar with. Alright? So starting with the balance sheet, we shall talk about the assets and the liabilities and how they are balanced. Then we shall talk about what is contained in a balance sheet. Then we shall see the significance of something called as the retained earnings, a very important topic, and especially from the investment point of view, we shall cover this in great detail. And then we shall talk about the significance of debt equity ratio. Thereafter, we shall see the snapshot of a real balance sheet from the website, and then try to understand what is the share capital which is mentioned in the balance sheet. And then we will discuss the current assets and current liabilities in detail, and then talk something about working cycle or the working capital cycle. All right, there is something called as working capital, also known as working capital cycle. We shall discuss about it. And then we will also see the significance of the working capital, a very important thing for businesses. We shall look into it in detail. And thereafter, I'll explain to you how to look at a balance sheet and what to look for in a balance sheet so that you can understand it from the investment perspective. And then we shall talk something about a golden rule. Now, every balance sheet has got something which needs to be looked into at great detail, and that is a golden rule. If a balance sheet follows the golden rule, then it is good, but if it violates the golden rule, then you must avoid that company. And then we shall analyze a real life balance sheet in great detail and discuss certain key takeaways from that. After that, we shall talk about the profit and loss statement, and in that we will first look into the introduction to the profit and loss statement, also known as the income statement. Okay, and once we know the introduction to a profit and loss statement, then we shall try to understand the profit and loss statement in great detail. Thereafter, we shall talk something about the top line and the bottom line. Two very important words, but people know very little about it. We shall talk about that in great detail, and we shall also discuss how the crowd psychology is applicable to these two words, or how do people take these two words. Then we shall try and analyze a profit and loss statement in detail, and then some key takeaways from that profit and loss statement. The same company which we have discussed the balance sheet, we shall talk about the profit and loss statement of the same company. After that, we will look into the cash flow statement, wherein we will first introduce a cash flow statement to you, what is there in a cash flow statement. Then we shall discuss how the cash flows. Thereafter, we will discuss the significance of the cash flow in detail. Then certain parameters of a cash flow statement, what all you must look for in a cash flow statement. Then we shall try to understand the cash flow from various activities like the operational activities, the financial activities, and the investment activities. After that, we will analyze the cash flow statement of the same company of which we have discussed the balance sheet and the profit and loss statement. Cash flow statement being a very important subject, we shall discuss it over 2 lessons. And then we shall look into some key takeaways of the cash flow statement. Once we have done this, we shall talk about the ratio analysis. First, we will see the significance of the ratio analysis, why it is important and why must we do ratio analysis. And then we shall try to understand certain things like the face value and the book value, then the market price of a share. Then we shall try and understand the EPS or the earning per share, and then something called as the PE ratio or price to earning ratio. Thereafter, we shall try and analyze the debt equity ratio of a company. After that, we will try and understand the return on equity and the return on net worth. What are these things and what is the difference between them? Then we shall try and understand the PB ratio or the price to book value ratio. These are all the important things which you must look into when you are trying to purchase a share or trying to invest in a stock. Then we shall try and understand the current ratio, and we will summarize all that we have studied in the ratios and how to go forward. What is the way forward after you have understood everything? And then towards the end, I will tell you when not to buy a share. See, by going through all this process of analyzing the financial statements, you would be able to identify good stocks for long-term investment. But you must know when not to buy the good stocks. All right. Let me assure you that this course has been covered in absolute details, starting from the basics, so that any person without any prior knowledge of finance or commerce will be able to understand it. And once you understand it thoroughly, you will be able to analyze the balance sheets, the cash flow statements, the profit and loss statement, and the ratio analysis of any company like a professional. All right. So let us begin.